Guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Sarah. If you're new here, I'm a mom of 11 kids. My oldest is married and the other 10 are still living at home. My husband and I love to try to budget, but this year we're doing better than ever, and I want to give you a few of our hacks that help us really budget the best and make the most progress with our money, because some of them might help you. My husband wanted to be here with me to film this video. We actually have 2 businesses and a full-time job between the two of us. He is a financial advisor. He helps people get out of debt and get to the financial goals they want, and he loves these kind of videos, but he's been extremely busy. He also is a pastor of a church, and I have a business which is on YouTube, which I'm so thankful for. But no matter how much money you are bringing in or not bringing in, what makes a huge difference is how much is going out. And we have had all different income levels. A lot of these tricks and hacks we have learned through the lowest of the low, and we've noticed that when we've used them when we're making good money, we make much better progress. So whether you're making a lot of money or not making a lot of money in whatever season, it really does help to pay attention to your budget and to do some very simple things that help you make progress month to month. So let me start with actually the biggest and best and not make you wait for the end. The number one thing that helps us the most, and we haven't done it all the time, but it helps us make the most progress, is meeting together frequently to discuss our budget. I cannot tell you how much progress we make no matter what our income when we are meeting together regularly and discussing what's coming in and what's going out. Just paying attention to it somehow makes all of the difference. And if we haven't been paying close attention, we have for our whole lives always budgeted our grocery budget for sure, no matter what. There's a few areas that we just have always paid attention to, but when we've kind of let everything else slide and just spent as we see needs or wants or whatever, and then we start to pay attention together by meeting together and talking about it regularly, we make progress almost instantly. There's something I believe about the unity of just talking together, being on the same page. And we tend to pray about it more together, which I think the Lord blesses that too. But regardless, when we are talking about it regularly, we are making progress. Some seasons in our lives that look like once a month, but we do the best when we at least just talk about it a little bit once a week and have a real decent meeting about it once a month. So that has worked for us the best. This January, we were like, well, last year was an expensive year for us. We're like, we got to make some more progress in our money. We had some big financial goals this year, and last year was just expensive. So we're trying to recover from that. So we decided in January right away, we knew right away, we have to meet together often. And so we've been meeting together once a week on a Friday. Sometimes we use it for a chance to go on a date night and we talk about our budget, and our kids think we're weird and boring. And other times we will just talk about it while we're cooking dinner for a few minutes. But no matter what, we are meeting about it, talking about it regularly. For the last little while, we've been using an app for our budget, and now we can just both pull it up. We can even have that meeting on the phone because we each have the app in front of us, and we can look and see where the money's going, where we're overspending, where we could maybe bring the budget down a little bit and save some money. So having that app that we both have in our hands just makes a big difference, just knowing the numbers. One of us is definitely a number person, is obviously the one who has the finance business. One of us is not as much. But when I can see the numbers clearly, I know the goal, and it's very motivating to me. So it's helpful when we're talking about it together. Even for him, we're both spenders in different ways. We're both savers in different ways. So even for him, I would say that it's very motivating for him when we're talking about it together and looking at the numbers frequently. Even though he always looks at the numbers, it helps when we're meeting together and talking about it. Working on our goals together. And goals are a huge part. All right, number 2, a big thing that helps us a lot when we're trying to meet a lot of financial goals is to wait. We get good at waiting, and we make waiting fun. So we will wait when it comes to things like throwing things in our Amazon cart. Instead of hitting buy now, we'll just let the cart grow. And all the things that we want, we'll just collect in there, and we will wait and only check out once a month. And I tell you, by the end of that month, when it's time to check out, almost all the time, we have taken things out of that cart. And sometimes we've taken everything out of that cart. There is so much benefit to waiting, and I think we're in a buy now culture where it's just so easy and convenient to buy now for everything. And it doesn't hurt to just wait a little bit and make sure it's really something we want or need, or a problem that can't be solved with something we already own. So waiting is huge for us. We will wait on any big decision. We tend to wait anyway for big spending ticket items, but when we're even waiting for the smaller things, it really, really helps. When you know that you need a pair of jeans and you've actually waited for weeks and weeks instead of just deciding, I need a new pair of jeans and going out that next hour and buying a new pair of jeans or hitting buy now. It's very, very helpful for curbing spending, I would say. Waiting. That's the thing. Wait. W-A-I-T. Wait.
Just wait a minute.
Another thing we love to do when we're really trying to meet some goals is just to challenge ourselves for short periods of time. Like for instance, right now, we're doing a grocery challenge in our home where we are not buying many groceries at all. We're just doing the very, very bare minimum where we always buy surplus. We always have extra. So we are living off that extra right now and just challenging ourselves to see how very little we can buy and how we can use up what we already have. I love challenging ourselves, especially when it's short term. If you're challenging yourself for the next 5 years, you get tired of that challenge. But when you know it's just a month or 6 months that you're not going to eat out much or just some sort of challenge. I don't know. Challenges always work really well for us, and we can get our kids on board too when it's a short period of time, and we can actually save a lot of money. For us, our grocery budget right now is $1,500 a month. That's a lot of money. So when we are doing a grocery challenge and we're not buying any groceries but like fruits and vegetables, we can save over $1,000 that month just by doing that, and then we'll slowly restock our food storage area. So that is a huge one for us, is just to challenge ourselves in some way. We've done it many times with eating out. We do it short term, and the challenge works so well. When we are saving that money, it actually really helps us in a lot of ways because it helps us to be able to afford buying a whole cow at a time, which helps our grocery bill stay lower. Sometimes we're able to give the money away, and sometimes it's just helping us toward our financial goals. But the challenges, they work, and they also help you use what you already have. I do love that about it. We tend to just buy and not look for what we already have. And when we are in a grocery challenge, we make a point, especially to look through our freezers and see what have we looked over, what are we just skipping over out of convenience, what could we eat that we've already purchased that will save us money today. Challenges are a great one. And speaking in that food vein, because I love to talk about food, they won't all be about food, but I will say that meal planning and eating out less really does help you save money. We don't often realize how much those little shops, even at gas stations, fast food, convenience places, it adds up so quickly. So oftentimes we'll think about the night out, the date night out, where you're gonna spend $40, $60, depending on where you live, $100, I don't know. A lot of times we'll think about that, or taking our whole family out and the big expense of that. But it's those little things often that will really get you. And the little things to me tend to be ones that we use out of convenience because we didn't plan ahead. So planning ahead in our meals will really help us eat out less, which saves us a lot of money. We personally have really just made a mind shift in the last year to make sure that we're eating out for special occasions to celebrate something, whether it's solo night going on a date night, or we're taking the kids all out for something to celebrate, or just a special occasion, and not letting it be something that we use for convenience, but rather something we're using specifically to celebrate. Last month we went out for one of our kids' birthdays, and it was so much fun. We were all together. It was a fast food place that our birthday child had picked, and we had so much fun. And it was great because we hadn't all been out together for a while. When Solo and I go on a date night, it's great. We'll take a birthday child out for a meal, a special meal. We will celebrate all together as a family when something big has happened in our lives. I think we all appreciate it a lot more when we're using it for special occasions anyway, so it does help in a lot of ways. Practically, to keep us from eating out just for convenience sake, we do a few things. We plan, even if it's a rough plan, we have an idea of things we can make with what we have. We keep meat thawed. That is a huge one. I believe that's probably the biggest one because we are meat eaters. But even when we don't have meat thawed, we have a plan for meals that are emergency. Like for us right now, we're using canned food because we have some home canned meat. But there's a few meals we know we can use when we don't have meat thawed for some reason. We are late, everybody's sick and tired of it, and we don't want to do anything in the kitchen. We have a plan for that even. Years ago, I used to always buy emergency pizza for the same kind of thing. Some frozen pizzas in the freezer are going to be much cheaper than going through a drive-through. It still gives us that, what do you call it? The white flag. I surrender. I cannot do it one more night.
I surrender.
We've all had those nights when we are so sick of cooking, we're so sick of cleaning up, and we need to have something simple. So we like to keep those simple things in our house already because it's always cheaper that way. So having a rough plan and then having a backup plan for that rough plan and having meat thawed. I think we're on tip number 5, but number 5 may or may not apply to you. We combine trips. When we're trying to save money, gas money really adds up. But I would say that even when we lived in the city, going to the other side of the city took us longer than right now it takes us to get into the city. So sometimes when you have to go all the way to the other side of town, even when we lived in town, it was just much more cost effective to think about everything we needed to do on that side of town and do it all together. So combining trips really does save money. One of the areas we are trying to tighten up right now is our fuel money, our gas money. It's high. And we have vehicles that are big fuel hogs, which is not awesome. But to buy new vehicles is not quite cost effective for us right now. So that would be the plan in the future. But for now, we don't want to buy another car. We're going to put up with what we've got, and we're going to combine trips as much as possible. So when we're already in town for voice lessons, we'll do the errands we have to do. We go visit grandma when we're already running errands. We just combine things on the same day, and that helps a lot. So that brings me to my next thing that we do often when we are really trying to tighten up our budget. We have noticed our whole marriage, when we're working on our budget well, when we're meeting often, we're both so motivated that we think totally different. And I really believe we're fighting the materialism in our minds. I don't know where you're listening to this video from, and your country may be different, your culture may be different, but I would say very confidently in the United States of America that we are very materialistic. If you are on social media at all, you probably have recognized that. We're constantly being told what we need to buy, how wonderful it is, and why we need it right now. The materialism is rough. We really have to fight it mentally a lot of times, and we just have to tell ourselves, it kind of goes with the point about waiting, but we have to tell ourselves sometimes we can get away without purchasing that thing that we think we need right now. And we may not have even realized we needed it last week or an hour ago, but we saw somebody talking about it, and we know that that is the only answer to our problem right now. Do you know what I mean? This almost becomes a challenge for Solo and I. We noticed when we were early married that once in a while, like when we would just solve a problem, whether we really had the money or we were really stretching ourselves and it felt like we didn't. Say we needed a bed for a child and we just went out and bought one. Then soon after, someone would offer us a bed. And we thought, if we would have just waited. Okay, I guess this is really the waiting point, but I think it really fights materialistic mindset. So if we would have just waited a minute, what we had was working okay. We could have gotten by with it. Like the Lord was going to give us one. And so we started noticing this would happen here and there, or we would wait and we would be given something that we really needed, or the problem would solve. And so whether we made the purchase and then realized it later, or we waited and then realized, wow, there was a solution there, it taught us a big lesson. So every time we come back to like just really honing down and working on things, I feel like we get back into this mindset of, okay, let's see where we really need to spend, or where maybe the solution can come from somewhere else. So this last month, our dogs, our Great Pyrenees dogs, if you know Great Pyrenees, they're wonderful guardian dogs. They take care of our chickens and guineas and ducks. They've helped us lose way less to coyotes. They're such great protectors, amazing dogs, sweetest things ever. We love them. They live outdoors. They're just wonderful. I could not say enough good things about them, but everyone will tell you the Great Pyrenees have a big downfall, and that is that they wander. and they wander a lot. And we had gone through a season when we moved to this new house. We were living in a small house on the other side of the property. And when we moved here, they stopped wandering as much. I remember my cousin writing me even, and she has Great Pyrenees, and she's like, how do you get your dogs to stop wandering? And I was like, ours just magically stopped. I don't know. I can't even help you, because ours stopped wandering when we moved deeper into our property. Well, that stopped, that magical season. And they started roaming a lot. I remember Solo, who's a pastor, my husband, he was like almost late to church one day because we have trackers on them and they were so far away, and he was trying to get them home, and he was so frustrated with them. And the solution we kept looking for, we've tried underground fencing, but we have a lot of acres and it's just not realistic. We tried it just in the area that they would escape a lot, but people we've known that tried to underground fence a whole huge property, it's just always wires being cut, which we had problems with even in the small area we did, or things going wrong. It's so much maintenance. We knew that wasn't an option. There are these electric collars that kind of beep at the dogs as they get closer. You can do electronically, you can do the boundary for where they can go, and they beep as they get closer to the boundary. You train them on it, and then it's a static. So I'm not sure if that's really a shock or not, but it's a static response, so it starts buzzing or something like that, and it keeps dogs, the reviews are glowing, and it keeps dogs from running away. And a lot of the reviews are like, these are amazing for our Great Pyrenees, changed everything for us. And I told Solo, I think we have to buy them, but I don't want to buy them. And he also looked at him, he's like, oh, I don't want to buy them, they are very expensive. I'll just tell you, the one that we researched the most, we didn't want the monthly subscription, blah, blah, blah. So it was $1,000 per collar. And that is a lot of money. That's more money than we paid for the dogs, for sure. And it just is like, we did not want to do it. But I think that one Sunday morning was like the tipping point. We're like, are we going to have to do this? No, let's just wait a little longer. I mean, there has to be another solution. Well, you can't tie these dogs up, or they're not really going to guard your property well anyway. And it was so stressful to us for that season, probably 3 or 4 weeks, that they were just running far and wide every day. In the middle of the night, we'd see they were far, far, far away, and sometimes they would not come back, and we'd have to go get them and load them up. They hate the car, like shoving them in there. It was the pain of our lives for a while. The thing about these collars, this is a long story, sorry, I like stories. But the thing about these collars is they only charge for like 12 hours. Some of it, they say they charge for 24 hours. They stay charged for 24 hours, but the reviews are like, no, it's 12 hours. So you have to charge them twice a day if you have outside dogs all night. So you have to charge them in the morning, put it back on it, put them back on the dog, charge them in the evening, put it back on the dog. So a lot of people buy 2 collars per dog so that they can be charging one all night when they switch it out, and then charging one all day. That would be $4,000 for 2 dogs. We're like, we cannot do this. This is just ridiculous. And I'll tell you, I feel like it was God. Some of you will say, you crazy, but one day we hit these little $30 trackers we have on them, which we do pay a small subscription for, and it's been great. At least we can find our dogs, right? But I was reading about it because I had lost one. I had to replace it. And I was reading about it, and they have a beeping feature if you lose it. And one day when I got a notification on my phone that the dog had left, I hit the beep. And wouldn't you know it, the dog came right home. Just beeping. And the minute it crossed into our property, because I can live track it, I turned the beep off. I tell you guys, for a month, we've just been using the beep feature. Whether Solo or I notice that the dogs leave, we just go on live tracking and turn on the beep. And the minute they come back in, they have run away so much less. They almost always, there's been like 2 times that they just kept going, and they were probably chasing something. They come back every time, and we just felt like it was the biggest miracle. Like the Lord answered our prayer to save us from spending all this money. The thing that we already had did the job. Can you believe it? And so that just got us so excited. Like, okay, what else? Right now, you're looking at my pond back there, it's drying up, but I would love to get our ducks on the pond this spring. And I'm not gonna spend thousands of dollars to put up a house there. So I'm asking God right now, what can we do with what we already have? And I just think that's the mindset. I love getting into it. My husband really grew up that way. He grew up in Kenya, and there was a lot more mindset of what can you do with what you already have? I feel like we are so far from that in the States, and he's lived here a long time too, so it can just be easy to run to Home Depot for whatever you need, or run to Amazon, or run to Target, or whatever it is. And so it's great when we get into that mindset. Do we really need to buy this? Can we use something else? And right now we found some firewood we could use instead of buying a quart of firewood from somebody. And there's just several different things. When we start thinking different, it challenges everything that we're thinking. And I love that. We had a blender that broke, and I realized, you know what? Our other house does have a blender. We have someone staying there right now, but when they leave, we're just gonna take that blender, and in the meantime, we can go without smoothies. It's okay to go without smoothies sometimes. Our blender is broke. Like, I've tried to fix it, tried to replace the parts, and that's not gonna work. But you know what? We can go without for a while, and then we'll just get that blender from the other house. It's like the one thing we left over there. And we're not gonna buy a blender. I think when I'm not in that mindset, I would have just thought, let's just buy a blender for this house and leave that one up there for guests. Oh, we have a second blender. What am I even thinking? Mindset shift away from materialism. And I tell you, that will save you some money. Another thing that we really do to save a lot of money is use credit card perks. Now, if you're a Dave Ramsey person, you're not gonna like this part.
You're a whiner, okay?
This is where my financial coaching husband, he agrees with Dave Ramsey on a whole lot of things, but there are a few areas that he does more individualistic approaches. We only recommend this when people actually have a savings so that they are not going to get themselves in trouble because you're paying off your credit card every single month. You definitely don't want to pay those interest fees, but we have a couple credit cards that pay us back big. And we are so thankful for those points and that cash back feature that we use. So one of them is our Sam's Club card. We put all our groceries on it. We put as many purchases as we possibly can on that Sam's Club card, all our fuel, everything, and it pays us cash back at least once a year. Probably every 9 months we get our whole monthly grocery budget, which was $2,000 a month. Well, that's probably once a year, I bet. We get that whole budget back in cash. And so we don't apply it to our groceries, which people can do, because we actually want the points for spending the money on the groceries. We take that cash out, put it in our bank account, and then keep buying the groceries on the credit card. So we are constantly getting those points. For our large family that has to spend a lot of money just to function, it is priceless. But like I said, it is not something we would even risk if we did not have a savings account that we know could cover it, because we are never paying those interest rates, right? The interest fees. And we're always keeping an eye on that card and making sure it's just something we would literally pay cash for. So the other thing we do that for is an Amazon card. And I tell you, we kind of forgot about that. I don't know if Solo did, but I forgot about it for a while. And we have been just honing in on our budget, but we moved into our new house recently and our bed is still on the floor. Hello, bed on the floor. And I was kind of like, oh, it's rough when you're going strict budget, battening everything down, seeing what you can live without, like I just talked about. And some of the basic things just aren't quite done. We have Solo's office in the basement that we also wanting to make into a guest room. And we need a bed frame, we need some rugs there, he needs a desk. I mean, we just need some stuff still. One of my kids still wanted a desk, and we just had a running list. There's even macrame, is it called? It's like that yarn art that I've had in my cart forever that I just want to put over the piano to help with the noise in the living room. And it's pretty, not very expensive, but you know, it's definitely something I can live without, you know. I realized that we had built up a lot of Amazon cash, and that is one that you use on Amazon. And so the other day we're like, you know what? This is just provision for us to go ahead and get all of these things we needed. So we sat down on our day off the other day and we just went through all the things that we really need. We crossed out what we don't really need in our home, and we just did a big order, and it was free. In fact, we got it within $8. It was years of money built up in our Amazon card. And so that came through as such a blessing. But that is another thing that we use the Amazon card because it does pay us back. And in this case, the payback was great. I'm so glad I hadn't used it for all these little purchases here and there, because we really just needed to spend some decent money. And it's sometimes painful to do that. but to do it for completely free and get a whole bunch of pieces of furniture was incredible. So I'll show you guys that as that starts coming in and we're decorating a little more. We got a piece for our bedroom and a bed. Woo! We're finally getting off the floor. So yes, that was cool. But the credit card points really do help us. I know a lot of people use them for travel and such, which I think is great too. But for us, we just need cash sometimes. Our next tip for really battening down the budget is to look at our previous month's spending. That is the way. If you've never budgeted before, you want to go look at what you spent last month. So put everything into categories, whether you're using an app or not. I do really like Rocket Money. That's what we've been using for a while. This is not sponsored by them. We have worked with them in the past. The one thing that is a little downfall for me about Rocket Money is that it's a zero budget app, which is just a preference, but almost all of them are out there that do a really good job. And that just means that, like, if I want to put $200 a month toward gifts for our large family, I'm thinking $200 a month, and that by Christmas we're going to have, because of some months that we had very little or no birthdays or weddings or anything like that, that by the end of the year we have a good chunk toward Christmas. But in this case, it just starts again every month, so it's literally what you would spend that month. So if you were wanting to build up like a travel account or a gift account or something like that, you would have to move it into a separate savings account. My preference would not be, I think it's called a rollover budget. My preference is a rollover budget, and we've done that on pen and paper in the past. But in this case, we are okay with it because we're just trying to save as much as we can. So we'll have to plan for Christmas in another way and plan for travel in another way. But it's working out pretty good to just do it this way. But when we look at our previous month's spending, we can really look at where we're going over. And so what we don't like, or what, look at how much we're spending in fuel. That's a shocker for us. Like, what? In fact, I literally said to my husband the other day, we were cooking dinner, having our little budget discussion. And I was like, man, I'm so discouraged because I feel like we're doing really good in the areas we can control. And there's some areas we can't control, and the spending is too much. It's awful. It was several bills and fuel and things like that. And he's like, no way, we can control everything on that budget. And I was like, what? Explain it to me. And he's like, well, we could do this and we could do that and we could get this bill down this way and we can think different about this. And as he's talking through it, I realized, wait a minute, we really can control everything on that budget. It is so good to look at previous month's spending and say, am I happy with this? Maybe I need to change my phone plan. And that brings me to another point, is negotiating bills, negotiating phone plans. Like the app we use actually helps you see, and they even suggest to you which bills are high, maybe you should negotiate. But my husband sells life insurance, and he is always looking at life insurance and health insurance and dental insurance, and he's always looking at where he could get a better deal. Just because you started with an auto insurance here and it was a good deal does not mean that 5 years later it is still the best deal. And so it helps to spend just a little time sometimes looking at your bills and negotiating down some of those. Sometimes back in the day when we used to have cable, he would call and negotiate it down, or he'd call and quit. Tell him he's quitting, and boy, that bill would come plummeting down every single time when he would tell them that he's quitting. So it's the same concept. Suddenly they want to work with him and they're giving him the best deal ever. You know how it goes. We even do that with taxes. When our house taxes they make a huge jump exorbitantly, he will go in and he will negotiate the taxes. They usually give you like a date you can show up and contest what your house was assessed at. He does his research and he's done that, and it's helped save us so much money over the years. So just being really aware of everywhere your money is going, and when it's jumping up high, or when those bills keep creeping up, or when you're spending so much on coffee and you don't realize it. I know nobody likes to talk about your coffee bill, but I was just using it as an example. You do you with that coffee. I'm not a coffee person myself, so that's why I said that one. Another thing we like to do is to thrift first. So I am not a big shopper. I'm not a big fan of it. But when we need things like appliances, we have a place called Salvage Warehouse in our town that has dented items or previously used items that were returned. And we have gotten so many great appliances there. We always just look there first. In fact, we looked for our furniture that we needed there first. And you have to know your prices because we have spent too much there before. And this last time we went through, we're like, none of these, the last 3 times I think we've been in there, none of the deals were good at all. So it's not always the best deal. We try to go to thrift stores too. We don't have a lot of great ones in our town, but we do try to look for secondhand first. A lot of people are very successful at Facebook Marketplace. We always check there first too, because you can get some great deals. Even if you're not a shopper like me and you don't just get a joy and a thrill out of the hunt of it, it still helps to check first, because you can save so much money, but also know your prices before you check. So thrift first. I have literally gone into Goodwill and found dresses from Walmart that are marked more expensive than I could get that girl's dress at Walmart. So it is important to know your prices, but I think over the years we've saved so much money. Our big, huge dining room table was from that salvage warehouse. It was, they got it, I think, at an estate sale, the warehouse. And they had a bunch of big ugly chairs, 6 of them, that were white upholstered chairs. I mean, in my opinion, they were ugly. I'm sure they were wonderful for somebody else. Solo immediately, we bought the table. Solo immediately put those 6 chairs on Facebook Marketplace. Somebody came and bought them right after we bought them from the salvage warehouse. Somebody came and bought them. And with the money that we sold the chairs from, we were able to get the 12 chairs that we needed from Amazon. So, we have always used that. I love it for dented appliances. You can get a dent in the back, and who even cares and who even knows if that machine works great. For appliances, it's amazing. It's a great way to save money. My last tip is really something that you see on my channel all the time, and that is buying in bulk and making our own ingredients. We want to eat, this comes back to food, which we love to talk about around here, but we want to eat really healthy. And if we just ate healthy, buying everything convenience, we would be shopping at Whole Foods, and our budget would be a whole lot more than $1,500 a month. I'll tell you, we found out our cows are saving us almost $12,000 a year just in dairy and meat that is good quality. We know exactly what's going in those cows and what's coming out in milk. Even well before we had milk and meat from our own cows or eggs from our chickens, we were just making so many things from scratch. It is much healthier without all the additives. Quality ingredients in bulk, those things save us a ton of money. I feel like we eat very healthy. We have a very varied diet, and it is because we make a lot of things from scratch. The way I did that is just learning them one thing at a time. I learned one thing. It's not overwhelming when you just decide, okay, I need taco seasoning. Could I just make that? Instead of deciding you're making taco seasoning and sausage seasoning and yogurt and granola, and you're gonna make your own pizza, and you're gonna do this and you do this all in the same month. No. But one thing at a time, little by little, start realizing, okay, I can fit this into my life. I can make my own mayonnaise, and you can save a lot of money and have amazing diet by eating at home, planning ahead, buying in bulk, and making it yourself. I know that may not be what you want to hear, but it really does save us so much money and helps us eat the way we want to eat. I will come back to the number one way, because I want to remind you, the number one way that we do the best in our budget is by meeting together frequently. A lot of couples will tell us, we spend different. That almost every couple, one is a saver and one is a spender. I would say Solo likes to spend more on the big ticket items, and I may be more a quantity person. I would be more tempted to spend a lot on little things. And we're opposite in that way. But I tell you, most couples that we've talked to, that he's counseled, can get on the same page when they look at the big goal, the big picture, because often we want the same things, whether it's buying a house or upgrading something or going on this trip or whatever our goal is. We start at the goal and then we go backwards. So how could we get there together? And so being on the same page really helps when you start at the goal and then go backward. But being on the same page and meeting together often is the biggest thing. If you're single, just looking at it often, and maybe even having someone in your life you can bounce ideas off of, can make a huge, huge difference. Don't ignore those bills. Don't ignore those bills that are climbing up. Don't ignore the spending just because it's uncomfortable and you don't want to be confronted with it, because you can do a lot with what you have if you're paying attention to it. So guys, I hope this video was so helpful for you. I'm sad that Solo wasn't here, but we have another idea for another budgeting type video. So we'll get back to you on that soon. Thank you for watching, guys, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Leave below your favorite budgeting tips. Bye.